and found the dirtiest lawyer in town who knew, one of the dirty psychiatrists, and bought and paid for an evaluation, had a hearing in a court before I was ever served notice. And the next thing I know, every right that a human being can possibly have was taken from me. And you have less rights as a conserved person than you do as a criminal. I mean, you are stripped of every right. You can't enter into a contract. You cannot marry. You cannot sue. You cannot even fight the legal system that has involuntarily put you in this. And it was all based on the psychiatrist's diagnosis, who never evaluated me.
Eso es increíble. Estaba intentando dejar de fumar, pero en vez de eso recibió un diagnóstico psiquiátrico y le arrebataron sus derechos.
Le han quitado todo su dinero también, por no mencionar que estuvo encarcelado en una institución psiquiátrica. Pero si piensas que lo que los psiquiatras le hacen a los individuos en nuestro sistema judicial es malo, espera cuando veas lo que le hacen a las familias.
Children are taken away from parents every day in these juvenile courts because a person with a PhD or an MD after their name comes in and says, I've shown ink blots to a person, and they may be a risk to a child. Just in my little state of Massachusetts here, there are 11,000 children in captivity taken away from families at any one moment. And almost all of those children are being drugged. And our own commissioner of children and families testified under oath that they drug 88% of the children that they take out of the families.
88% drogados, eso es prácticamente algo que se da por descontado.
Y eso es solo la punta del iceberg. Por todo el mundo, los psiquiatras usan los tribunales en una serie de formas para arrebatarle los derechos a la gente y destruir familias. Solo mira.
Psychiatry has affected my family through the family law court rulings. The family law court has a court-appointed child psychiatrist who, it appears, determines the future of the child.
It's just like a business in the court system that they forced you to undergo all of these psychological evaluations, and you have to pay thousands of dollars, but at the end of the day, it has been supported by no evidence, nothing.
They'd said to me, Deb, you have a choice. Either you bring your son to get medicated, or we'll take your child away from you and put him in a home that they'll medicate your child. And then good luck. Basically, they were saying, good luck, Deb, to try and get your son back, but you'll get him back medicated anyways.
And they put her in hospital, and that's when the psychotropic drugging started with Becky. And at that stage, I had no say over it.
They refused to let her go. They would not let my daughter go unless she take medication.
This was again a recommendation from the psychiatrist that once my son was radically ripped from his home and literally kidnapped and put in a new home with a perpetrator of domestic violence and of sexual assault, and is where he now lives, this psychiatrist said that he was never to have any counselling and never to see anybody.
To have your family just disrupted like that, ripped out from under you, really, your whole life, just gone like that, and then you have to fight every day to get him back. It was very devastating.
In some ways it's worse than a death because it's unresolved and you know what the truth is. And you feel like giving up and not fighting back for that custody of that child, but you can't. Yeah, there's just no justice.
Esto es terrible. ¿Están destrozando familias basándose en diagnósticos arbitrarios en los tribunales?
Exactamente.
So it's unfortunate that the courts have bought into the DSM. It's unfortunate that the whole psychiatric profession is wedded to the DSM. It's unfortunate that the psychiatric profession is in bed with the drug industry, and it's unfortunate that drugs that don't work are the common prescribed drugs for all manner of conditions in children and in adults. It's the wrong way to go.
No, no a ellos también.
Por desgracia sí, los niños son ahora un objetivo de mercado enorme para la psiquiatría. El número de trastornos de la infancia incluidos en el DSM ha ascendido como un cohete desde 3 trastornos en 1952 hasta 44 hoy en día.
Eso es 15 veces más.
Y aún así, el DSM básicamente admite que no debería diagnosticar a los niños.
In early childhood, it may be difficult to distinguish symptoms of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder from age-appropriate behaviors in active children, such as running around or being noisy. We basically don't know the diagnosis from normal childhood. That's what that's saying.
Trastorno del déficit de atención e hiperactividad. Así es como los psiquiatras llaman a los niños que no se sientan quietos en clase, se agitan, corren o trepan mucho. Básicamente conducta infantil, ¿verdad?
Así es, y 20 millones de niños en todo el mundo han sido etiquetados con algún trastorno mental.
Así que, en vez de dejar que los niños sean niños,
los psiquiatras les dicen ahora a los padres que sus hijos están enfermos mentalmente y que necesitan drogas psiquiátricas.
It used to be that you were on the playground, you had the weird kid, you had the shy kid, you had the goof off, you had the hyper kid. You can't have that anymore. Now it's all medical diagnoses.
For them to come up with new diseases and new issues and diagnosis in their book, it doesn't correct bad behavior, okay? They can give children all the pills they want. It still doesn't correct bad behavior.
The thinking still is, you must fit into this mold. And if you don't fit into this mold, there's something wrong with you. And if you're not the person who designs the mold, too bad for you.
A child is labeled and then they're brought to professionals who are trained a very particular way. They're all being trained that if the child fits into this category, then we should consider putting them on Ritalin because that's what they do. That is the protocol.
The way the Ritalin will be marketed to the parents is that they will say, this is a drug to calm your child down. What they won't say is that methylphenidate is a form of speed. It's a form of amphetamine, and what we're actually doing is overdosing your child on speed.
It's a stimulant, so naturally it's going to increase heart rate, increase blood pressure, and you put a kid out on a football field on a hot summer day, and his risk of having a cardiac event of some sort has just gone up.
¿Sabes? He oído que los estimulantes que se les dan a los niños con problemas de atención son químicamente muy similares a la cocaína.
Sí, y tienen un potencial tan elevado de que abusen de ellos que están incluidos por el gobierno de Estados Unidos en la misma categoría que la morfina, el opio y la metanfetamina.
Así que, ¿a quién van a drogar los psiquiatras a continuación? ¿A los bebés?
Exactamente. Usan lo que llaman clasificación de diagnóstico de 0 a 3 o DC-03. Es como un mini DSM para bebés y niños que empiezan a caminar. Escucha esto.
We already targeted our school children with ADHD and bipolar. That's already done. That was done 20 years ago. And we're moving younger with DCO3 to the 0 to 3 age group where they're trying to make popular the idea that it's okay to medicate 0 to 3-year-olds.
The idea of a program to determine whether a child from birth to the age of 3 has a mental illness is so preposterous, so absolutely insane, that it's simply an additional part of the insanity that is now extant throughout this country. I cannot think of a program that is more insane than that.
How are they going to diagnose a 1-year-old or an infant with a psychological disorder? How do they know?
You almost have to ask ourselves, if our societies become sick, what are we doing to our fetuses, our infants, our children, that would make us need to have psychiatric medications?
We're rolling dice with life. We're rolling dice with our children who can't even discuss it with anybody. They have no control. They are the helpless victims. And the ones who are supposed to protect them and care aren't armed with the facts.
Si los padres supieran todo esto, estarían furiosos.
Ya lo creo, pero cuidado, porque el DSM dice también que podrías contagiarte de la enfermedad psiquiátrica de tus niños.
No puedes decir eso en serio.
está en el DSM.